In September of 1982, one of the biggest incidents in the entire history of aviation occurred, not only because of the brutality of the events, but also because of the large number of casualties in a single calamity. No one survived this event. In fact, many men were never found. The repercussions of this incident forever changed safety considerations in military flights, making manufacturers' specifications taken much more seriously. In this video, we will talk about the incident of the 100 H-47, 100 Chinook 74-22-292 and the tragic end of its occupants. So get comfortable, I'm Kevin Aguilar, and this, of course, is Guns Club. Interestingly, this event did not occur in a test plane or in an aircraft of questionable quality. It happened to both novice and highly experienced pilots in a highly reliable plane. The CH-47 Chinook is still in service today, a testament to its enduring design and capabilities. This reliable helicopter has over 70 years of active service. It is one of the most recognized helicopters in military history and one of the most recognizable by people. It has made history for decades in all NATO and United States conflicts. Throughout the end of the 20th and 21st centuries, it's a helicopter that, with its two powerful rotors, is capable of dragging 22 tons inside its fuselage. And it's capable of flying at 315 kilometers per hour. That's almost 100 kilometers more than the Huey, for perspective. It was and remains a swift, versatile helicopter, the ideal cargo carrier and perennial rival to the Super Stallions. However, even the most reliable and robust aircraft have their bad days. And interestingly, the Chinook had one of the worst days in my history. September of '82, the city of Mannheim, Germany, was celebrating its 372nd anniversary, and they wanted to commemorate it in a big way. They were preparing a big air show to enchant the 200,000 inhabitants of the city. In the show, they wanted to break the record for the largest free-fall circle in history. For this, they would ask for help from one of the American military bases in Germany, which gave a couple of Chinooks to make the event. All of this was perfect. The day came, and it was a beautiful day, sunny and practically cloudless. The Chinooks had arrived exactly at the scheduled time. The Chinook show had little planning, as the organizers expected that the necessary parachutists would be launched from both Chinooks to break the record, which were 47. However, the military officials in charge decided it was safer to launch them from a single Chinook, which ended up being the Chinook 292, so the plan was to cram 47 people into a helicopter designed to house 33 only. Actually, the weight was not the problem, as these 47 people would cause an overload problem. Only if they came to weigh 500 kilograms each, but they were trained active duty military, so they weighed around 80 kilograms each. The real problem was that 11 paratroopers had to stand during the flight, and this, in case of emergency, is extremely dangerous. However, the military officials decided to rely on the invaluable capabilities of the Chinook and, of course, trust that everything would go well. It was just a routine paratrooper drop. What could go wrong? Showtime arrived and the plane took off normally. It was loaded to the brim with paratroopers. The 292 was gradually climbing, reaching the planned altitude of 4,000 meters for the event. However, 11 minutes after takeoff, problems began when it was at 2,700 meters. The crew communicated to the ground control tower. The crew reported that a serious problem had arisen and that they had to descend immediately. The crew of the second Chinook on the ground noticed something strange in Chinook 292. He turned on his radio, and on the private company's frequency, he communicated with the crew asking what was happening. The response was really disturbing. The pilot of 292 told him that they saw the caution light kept flashing and they had heard very strange noises without a clear origin, and that for safety it was better to just land no more. All this was happening while the people in the town watched the show expectantly, hoping to see their military break a world record. The landing was going well until they reached 200 meters. There they noticed that the runway was congested. Obviously, therefore, they decided to make a very difficult decision to land on a nearby highway, which was extremely dangerous. But the problems came even before they managed to land. Being close to the ground, the pilots increased the engine power to slow down the aircraft. Eyewitnesses said they heard a large explosion followed by a loud mechanical noise, and directly the helicopters seemed to simply fall while pieces of it were shedding in the air. In one of the photographs that were taken, we see how the rear rotor along with its blades seem to have completely detached from the engine, along with a significant part of the entire upper system of the transmission and the engine, leaving the aircraft adrift. More parts of the rear engine seemed to detach from the helicopter. When it was closer to the ground, it began a rotation to the right and a completely uncontrolled fall. In one of the most characteristic and disturbing photos of the incident, we see a crew member, or more likely one of the standing parachutists on the aircraft, who apparently was dismissed by the erratic movements of the aircraft. Or maybe he just jumped in an attempt to get to safety as a last attempt to survive. Seconds later, the Chinese 292 hit the highway connecting Manheng and Heidelberg so hard that it directly turned into a fireball that consumed the entire aircraft. Everyone heard the explosion and only a few directly saw the final moment of 292. It was estimated that the force of the impact was about 200 Gs, which is impossible to survive this impact. Even if someone came out alive from that, they could not survive the fire caused by the impact. However, as a consolation for the relatives of those affected, the blow was so instantaneous that no one suffered beyond the stress of falling. After the flames were eradicated, unfortunately, only charred and melted parts of the aircraft remained, so there wasn't much to detect the reason for the failure. From the engines, only a huge stain of 5 by 7 meters long remained. The investigators took weeks, but using data from the reporters who captured the fall, they managed to determine the causes of the incident. Everything was caused by a failure in the front transmission system. The oil injectors, which lubricated almost the entire transmission, had become clogged with dirt. This led to both rotors becoming out of sync, causing them to fail in the air and the rear rotor to be completely destroyed. There were 46 casualties, 5 crew members, 2 journalists, and the rest were parachutists. Despite it being a clear maintenance issue and there being clear culprits, things were simply left as they were. This event teaches us that even the most reliable aircraft can fail if not used correctly or maintained properly. If you like this video, you'll probably like this one where we talk about the plane that no soldier wants to get on. Thank you so much for this video and see you in the next one. Goodbye.